Skyrim is a great game beloved by many, myself included. When it came out in 2011, it was pretty much the only thing I cared about as a teenager. I immediately loved this bizarre fantasy world full of magic and adventure. But looking back, I've realized at times the writing itself wasn't so great. So let's take a look at the companions. As I ran to Whiterun for the first time, I see a group of warriors taking down a giant. I look in awe as they take it down with ease, and immediately I'm accosted by Ayla, saying that I didn't help fight the giant, and follows by saying,
"Certainly not, but a true warrior would have relished the opportunity to take on a giant."
Which feels extremely contradicted by her follow-up of,
"And we show up to solve problems if the coin is good enough."
I'm not a true warrior because I didn't go toe-to-toe against a giant for free. By her definition of a true warrior, neither are they. She's just a mercenary who pretends that honor means shit. Anyways, we get prompted to go speak to the leader of the companions. Upon entering their home, there's immediately a brawl between two of the members, and I think this is meant to show the faction as a group of hardened warriors who fight for fun, which, fair enough, it is a cool sequence. Then we go downstairs to meet Kodlak, the leader of the companions, who isn't the leader. Also, no matter what level we are or our previous exploits, Vilkas will always say he's never heard of the player character. This just, well, it kinda sucks. But like, talk about immersion breaking. Imagine being the Dragonborn, the Thane of Whiterun, and this motherfucker just being like, yeah, never heard of him. Following that disappointment, we go to fight Vilkas in the yard to prove we're tough. I decided to try my hand at magic in this fight. Vilkas was not happy, responding with, "We don't do battle with magic around here." Yeah, no one here uses magic, you just abuse lycanthropy as a means of strengthening yourself and enhancing your abilities. Vilkas then sends us to go get his sword sharpened, and here we learn that nobody rules anybody in the companions. This is the second time I've heard this sentiment, but right now my understanding is there's definitely a hierarchy. Kodlak is the harbinger of the companions, which is the pseudo-leader, which obviously means something, but we act like it doesn't. There's also the circle, which is made up of furries, so the rest of us are just, plebeians? I don't know, it just seems odd to keep trying to run this idea that there's no leadership. Our first official quest for the companion is just some raiding quest bullshit. There is a dispute that we know nothing about, we resolve it by beating some random NPC and telling them, you know what to do. The companions really have me missing the Fighters Guild from Oblivion. The best way to explain the companions is plain unsalted chicken. That's what this quest line is. Yeah, there's meat, there's substance, and you'll get nutrition, but goddamn, you're not gonna enjoy it. After the generic raiding quest where we just beat up a blacksmith and pretended like we resolved anything, a member of the circle named Skjor sends us to go get a fragment of Uthrad. What's Uthrad? It's the axe the founder of the companions used. They're sending the newest member of the companions to get what is essentially the most sacred artifact in their way of life. Albeit they're sending the newcomer with one shield brother to supervise, but still a pretty odd thing to do. We go dungeon delving, as is the Skyrim way. I get trapped and Farkas has to take on some bandits who end up being a group called the Silver Hand. My favorite part about this moment is when the Silver Hand says, he wears that armor, he dies.
Doesn't matter. He wears that armor, he dies.
Farkas wears a standard steel armor you can find from any blacksmith. It is the default armor for hired thugs. Was Farkas meant to be wearing wolf armor? Like, this is just a weird oversight that, like, Bethesda should have had a playtester go through. Like, this is one of the main factions. I don't know, it's weird, it's weird. Farkas then reveals he's a werewolf and kills them all, and I ask if I'll be made into a werewolf, but they only make members of the circle into a werewolf. Also, who are the Silverhand? I don't know if there's any in-game readings that could help decipher this, but even if there are, why aren't we given more information on what their deal is? Like, from what I'm seeing, there's not necessarily the bad guys. Yeah, they want to kill the companions, but they're specifically werewolf hunters. There's a story to that we're not getting. Also, how do only the Silverhand know the companions are werewolves? No one else seems to acknowledge this. I was wrong. Apparently we weren't even official members of the companions when they sent us to go claim one of their sacred relics. That's my fault for assuming as much. And after joining the companions officially, surely we're done with the Lackluster quest that an AI could generate, right? Nope, it's bandit hunting time. What happened, Bethesda? At this point, I take any of Oblivion's quest over this. I understand not every quest can have a team of writers on it, but there's no substance here. This feels like the blueprint for what would be Fallout 4's Minutemen raiding quest. Now, this gripe I have is one that covers the entire quest line: assumed relationships. Skjor wants to see me and offer me lycanthropy after a handful of quests I've completed, like 3 total, 2 of them were radiant quests. Skjor barely knows me. Kodlak's journal later reveals that he thinks very fondly of the player. You barely interact with Kodlak. Also, you barely interact with Farkas or Vilkas, but there's points in playing where I was just like, damn, this piece of dialogue would go so hard if I actually cared about you. Suspension of disbelief goes goes a long way, but it can't make me care about shallow characters. Moving on, what did Skjor wants? Oh yeah, he wants you to join the circle. That's dope, right? I mean, you've done like 4 quests or something, you proved yourself after like 3 days of in-game time, but you can only join the circle if you become a werewolf. They say you don't have to become a werewolf, but you do. If you want to continue to move up in the companions and not be progression locked, you must become a werewolf. After drinking Ayla's blood and becoming a werewolf, they just let us go? What the fuck? Also, you then pass out and wake up at the next quest. I don't understand. Again, what's the story? Why do the Silverhand know we're werewolves? What's the original beef? Also, Skjor is dead, but who cares? I talked to him twice in the main quest. Ayla remarks that Skjor died because he went head-on against the Silverhand without a shield brother, and then she immediately sends you off to do the same exact thing without a shield brother. Awesome. 10 out of 10, superb writing. Another generic quest, this time with revenge being the motive, which I guess is something at least. Konlak tells us about how an old harbinger made a deal with witches to grant the companions lycanthropy. So he wants us to go talk to the witches and... Nope, never mind, he wants us to decapitate them. Why make extra dialogue or record more voice lines for the witches to add onto the story when you can just hack and slash? By decapitating the witch, we can use her head to cure Konlak and old boy the Silverhand attack to the companions. The companions who are based right in Whiterun. Right next to the Jarl's castle, in the middle of town, and Kodlak's dead too. Naturally, being a companion's quest, we go kill more Silverhands. We then hold a funeral for Konlak, which we didn't do one for Skjor, which feels kind of odd. I guess being the Harbinger really does mean something. Then we go read Konlak's journal. We learn that he dreamed of us before meeting us, and he thinks rather highly of us, which again is odd, because he's never seen us in action, and we've only talked to him on like 3 separate occasions. Like, I think exactly 3. Next, the blacksmith repairs Uthrad, and we can use it to go to the Harbinger's crypt, and upon arrival, Vilkas decides to be a bitch. Our goal is to go cure Kodlak of his lycanthropy and death. Kind of get the impression of Kodlak being something of a father figure in the companions, and you think any of them would jump at the chance to help him, right? Well, no. Vilkas can't help because he's grieving still. At least we have Farkas, and nope, his arachnophobia got the better of him. We once again establish that Konlak is indeed the companion's leader. Then we get the most anticlimactic ending any major quest has ever had, and we get made the new leader of the companions, which means something, I guess. Overall, I'd say the companions had a good concept with horrible execution. The interactions are shallow and near meaningless. Actually, the only meaning you really get is Kodlak expressing his desire to want to be cured before he dies. That appeals to basic human empathy, but everything else is just pointless. Skjor's death means nothing. Dude just Leroy Jenkins himself and died in the dumbest way. Ayla, Farkas, and Vilkas may as well just be random street NPCs because you have so little to do with them through their primary quest. It's just switching between taskmasters, essentially. And the Silverhand is our main antagonist, but we don't know a single thing about them. Also, again, a group of werewolf hunters don't necessarily sound like bad guys. They're portrayed as a group of bandits, but it almost feels like they should be more associated to like the Vigil of Stendarr or something. I don't know, like I said, I'd love Skyrim, but some of the writing makes you want more. Not because it's so good, but because it gives you so little. Anyways, next we'll cover either the College of Winterhold or the Dark Brotherhood, and I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.